how much space do I need and what's a good layout for my store? There's a couple asterisks in this, so it's not a general um, floor plan or idea that you can follow in every situation. But, there's a couple problems that I see a lot of land centers make right off the bat when picking out their space and how to lay it out. We always recommend for eBash stores, ours are 4,000 square feet or larger. I would think the minimum square feet you would want in a space is about 2,000 square feet. Now, that being said, a lot of that is surrounded by my idea of the fact that you've got to have enough space for enough players on Friday and Saturday to be in your land center so that you can generate the most amount of revenue on your busiest nights. Just like it is for the movie theaters, just like it is for bars and clubs and everybody else. Those kind of things all happen on the weekends. You got to have enough space to fit them all in. So minimum 2,000 square feet. There's really not a top end, but you got to keep in mind that once you get above, our Indianapolis store is 7,000 square feet, and then you get up to 10,000 square feet or more. Not only is that going to add a pretty high, sizable lease cost or payment on a building if you've got a mortgage, but it's going to cause you to try to figure out how to fill it all the way up and make it look full. So again, you want it to look fun, you want it to look full, but you've also got to have enough space for everybody to come in. So one thing that I see a lot of people doing is they go into this assuming that people need to have an experience different than they have at home, which is true in certain stances, but it's a little bit opposite of what you might think when you're starting a land center. So I see a lot of centers. There was one in the East Coast, I won't say who it is, but I noticed that they set up a land center with giant 60-inch TVs in separate rooms with big couches and like lounging areas. And their idea is that people needed a place to go and hang out with their buddies in a room, one room by themselves with a giant screen. And it's just not the case for what gamers are going out and what they want. So you don't really need a lot of big TVs and a lot of space for players to play on gigantic screens and that sort of thing. Again, a lot of guys know somebody or they have big TVs at home now. What you want to give them is what they don't have, which is the ability to line up 4 or 8 or 10 or 15 players in a close area so that you can give the guy a punch in the arm when he sucks on your team, or you can high-five him when he does well, and you don't have to split screen like you each have your own screen. Space-wise, you want about 36 inches per gamer. You could go a little bit larger if you want to be a luxury center. We've squeezed them into as little as 30 inches in our store without it being too uncomfortable. But, we always shoot, basic rule for us is 12 feet of counter space is 4 gamers. So if you want to set up for a lot of the PC games like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Heroes of the Storm, those are all 5-player matches, then you would shoot for 15 feet of counter per team or per group that you want set up. Now, the other thing that I see, and I've had this question twice this week, is, okay, we want to get into esports. And esports is a big reason why there's this big resurgence in LAN centers, is that players want this competition. They want somewhere to go and compete. And we love that. That's the base of what we're founding everything on for eBash and GG Circuit is levels of competition that will provide the foundation for players to enjoy something organized without traveling to New York and trying to compete in a $12 million thing that they're never going to qualify for. What they make the mistake of thinking is that we're going to set this thing up and really focus on this esports aspect. And again, you might be able to do that in a big city. There's a new one that's launching out in Orange County that I think is a really cool concept. It's called eSports Arena. I don't know those guys, never met them. I just watch a lot of the LAN centers and what they do. They have a stage, they have a lot of seating, they have a lot of pits, we call them, where they can do matches for tournaments before they qualify for the stage. But if you're going to go that route, you're going to have to run esports stuff all the time. Most centers are going to want to have enough of a section of their store for a couple, like we call them stages, but they're really just a little raised platform there behind JMAC in Indianapolis is our left and right side of the main stage, we call it, for our tournaments. And you want to have some big screens a couple places, but you don't want to focus that on your primary business if you're a typical LAN center, because it's just going to take up too much of your square footage. It's just going to, you're not going to be able to get as many players in to play as you would players that will come in and watch. So again, you're doing a big esports event, you're packing it full of players to watch and to spectate, then, more big screens and bigger areas might make sense.